Let me show you how to stake this plant for a bigger, better Monstera. Hey, Lee here, helping you become a better plant parent, and I have two Monstera Deliciosas that I'm ready to combine and put on a stake. I have one currently growing on a moss pole, and the other one is sitting in leca. I was able to find a birch bark pole at my local garden center, and I'm going to be swapping out my moss pole for the birch bark. It's important to know that you don't actually need to use a moss pole. You could use a bamboo stake, a piece of wood, a birch bark pole, or even a PVC pipe. As long as it's sturdy, your Monstera will grow. Let's head outside to the balcony and get started. Oh no. This is gonna take a while. After fighting with this plant for a good 5 minutes, I was actually surprised I was able to not damage many of the roots. While growing in leca does give me some amazing growth, if you're not vigilant, the roots will come out of the pot and it can be such a hassle to uproot it and repot it. But would I do it again? Yes I would. After putting the first Monstera aside, I need to unpot my other plant. Getting these plants out of soil is a simple process. Put pressure on the sides of the pot to loosen the roots. Hold it upside down if you need to, and gently pull until it slides out. I just repot this last year, and it always amazes me how fast the roots grow on these plants. I'm so over moss poles. I noticed that this plant is growing a new leaf. Usually I don't like to repot when a new leaf is coming out, because sometimes it can affect the growth, which can damage the leaf, but this is very frustrating. New leaf has some damage along the side, and I think it's because it's been rubbing up against the moss pole as it grows, so it's gonna be tough, but we'll make it through. Coming in hot with another take on moss poles. If you want to spend your money on a moss pole, that's completely fine. The ones from Amazon that are stackable do have some really good utility, especially since you can keep adding them on to each other as your plant grows, but I will always choose a $3 bamboo pole over your $40 self-watering moss pole any day of the week. And if I start selling my own luxury brand of moss poles, please ignore these comments, and the links will be down in the description. So now that we're ready to stake this Monstera, the most important thing we need to look for is the back of the Monstera. You want to look for these parts, the little neck part where the Monstera uses it to swivel around. If you've got a larger Monstera, it should have these little frills. This, wherever the direction the back of this neck is pointing, is the back of your Monstera. So consider overall where the back part is. So one of these necks is pointing this direction, this neck down here is pointing that direction, and this one over here is pointing over to this side. So in general, I would say that the back of this Monstera is facing towards this direction, close to the camera. After layering the bottom of my pot with new soil of my special Monstera mix, I have to make sure I've lined up the back parts of the Monstera cuttings to face the same general direction. This way, both plants will be facing the same direction and will have a fairly similar growth pattern. Before I start filling in the rest of my pot, I do like to tie some of the parts of my Monstera to the stake, just to stop it from shifting around. From here, continue filling in your pot with your soil mix. I highly recommend staking your Monstera on the same day that you're ready to repot it to a larger space. Monsteras are so large and grow so quickly that sticking a stake in the soil can often damage the roots. It's also much easier to arrange your Monstera and make sure you're staking it at the back of your plant so that your leaves are growing away from the stake to make a better looking plant. If this video was helpful, give it a like and consider subscribing. See you next time.